and welcome into the Young Dad Podcast. Whether you're outside grilling, mowing the lawn, changing dirty diapers, or maybe, just maybe, you got a moment to sit back, relax, and listen to your favorite podcast. Whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, thank you for listening. Thanks for being here, and thanks for tuning in, of course. Today's conversation is for every parent who's ever felt a little, well, quote unquote, different, a little chaotic, and maybe a little misunderstood. If you or your kids have ADHD, autism, or any kind of neurodivergence, this episode is going to be packed with insights, laughs, and practical wisdom on how to navigate life, work, and parenting with confidence. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Kristin Williamson, a licensed professional counselor with a PhD in behavioral health management and a champion for neurodivergent adults. Diagnosed with autism and ADHD in adulthood, it's always so fun to get an adult diagnosis. Kristen has embraced her Neurospicy brain as a superpower, and she's here to help others do the same. She's passionate about mental health, leadership, and creating more inclusive spaces for neurodivergent individuals in parenting, work, and life. So make sure you grab a juice box, grab a snack, and let's jump into the conversation today. Kristen, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to have you. So there's a lot of parents, especially dads, speaking for the dads here, that don't realize that they might be neurodivergent until they see those traits in their kids. So can you kind of take us through your story and what was your aha moment when you realized that maybe I should get tested?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And that's such a fun story. Fun now. It wasn't so fun at the time. I have two tiny humans. I guess they're not so tiny anymore. They're 15 and 12. My 15-year-old got diagnosed with autism and ADHD when he was 8, but that was after years of struggling to find doctors who would do testing, with going through school struggles and behavioral issues, and saying, well, there's nothing wrong with him, quote unquote, but like his brain is responding differently. And so when he got that diagnosis, I was in grad school getting both my master's degrees, and I then kind of switched my hyperfixation of what I was learning onto autism because I wanted to learn everything that I could about it so I could be the best parent for my kiddos, because my daughter actually ended up getting diagnosed with ADHD as well later on. And in the therapy world, we typically make friends with other therapists. We consult with one another. We get to know just one another, especially wherever we're working. And I had a therapist look at me one day and say, I think you're autistic. And I said, no, I'm not. I don't hit the criteria. No, because I was going just on the textbook. I don't do this. I don't do this. I don't do this. And he said, well, for girls, it's different, right? I was like, what? Clearly, I hadn't done enough studying to get to that point to understand it. And so then I just went down a rabbit hole and learned, holy moly, girls definitely present differently. And just there's no testing. Testing was made for young white boys from middle-class families. So females and people of color just get effed when
You can say here. No, you're spot on with it. I'll let you keep going. I just want to take a quick chance to respond. It's interesting when you learn about that stuff, right? Especially working in mental and behavioral health. Like I work in behavioral health during my 9 to 5, so it's super fun, and it's really interesting to see where these young apples are falling from.
Mm-hmm.
And you work with some of these parents, and it's like, did you ever consider that maybe it's not the other parent that you're claiming has this issue, that the issue is coming from what I'm looking at right here,
From within the house.
from, the other person here in this room? Did you ever consider that? And they're like, huh? Me? No. But then, yeah, you think back. Like, a lot of these parents that I'm working with are in their 30s and their 40s, much like you and much like you and I, we're incredibly young for our age, according to what we're telling everyone.
Yes.
And we look back to when we're growing up and other parents and whatnot that are 30s, 40s, and there was nothing, right? There was nothing to diagnose. ADHD was diagnosed, but it was diagnosed in, like you mentioned, boys. Everything that we learned about in school is
Well, and with the boys, they had to be bouncing off the walls. They had to be
Mm-hmm.
talking so much that they're getting in trouble or they're not sitting still. They're doing all these things. So even boys who with ADHD, because ADHD comes in multiple forms, and so the
Mm-hmm.
inattentive kind, when they're just kind of the daydreamers, they're just the quieter ones, they got missed.
Yep.
And so
Or the ones that did still have the chattiness, the ones that did still have the hyperactivity, but if they performed well in school,
then you get put into gifted and talented.
then you're missed,
Yep.
kind of thing. Yeah, then you get moved up and moved around, and
You get,
like, oh
yes,
well, he's just really smart. We're just not challenging him enough,
that's
kind of
exactly.
thing.
Which, I mean, truthfully, I have learned Neurospicy brains, we are really smart. We are really, really smart. We are not card counting savants, not all of us. But growing up in the 80s, in the
I wish I
90s,
was.
that image of autism was Rain Man. It was, okay, well, you need to live in a group home. You can't do these things, but you are so intelligent when it comes to this. And so that you are spot on. Like, there was not necessarily as many parents who were understanding what autism looked like, who even challenged it to say, hey, my kid might be struggling with something. They're just like, oh, my kid's the troublemaker. You're just weird. Why can't you stop doing this? Why are you so lazy?
Yeah, there's always the why can't you stop? Why can't you not? Why can't
Why can't
you?
you be normal?
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. So, anyways, back to your story. So you're learning about all this. Therapist looks at you, said I think you're autistic. I love how this made me think of my friend Dr. Nas. He hosts the Different Spectrums podcast, and the way he says it, he's just one of my favorite human beings ever. So Dr. Nas, if you're listening, shout out to you. But and shout out to the Different Spectrums podcast. I was actually on an episode that aired late last year when we talked about Daddy Daycare, the movies, and it was just so fun to go through those. But anyways, I'm digressing here. What was I saying? He just goes. He loves to go like, "Oh, the Tism is strong with that one. Tism is strong." Nice way to say it.
That's amazing.
But anyway, so therapist told you think you're
Yeah,
autistic,
he just kind of
and
put it
then
in my head. And so I did what most people do when they hear, hey, I think you're on the spectrum. I completely denied it. And then I sat with it and did some research and found some online assessments because that's what we do. We find the online assessments and took those and I hit all the criteria. And I'm like, oh, crap. And so then talking with friends and family, and my friends immediately were like, yes, didn't you know that? No, I wish you would have told me. My family, they're so, so funny. They were, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. And so it, it took years to get in to have the funds to go get diagnosed because insurance doesn't cover it for adults, at least for the most part. You have to be so incredibly high support needs in order for insurance to go look and say, we'll cover this as an adult because that's it's the idea still of group homes of getting that support and assistance, and so it's coming and paying out of pocket and then getting that diagnosis, and then it almost feels like it's that breath that you were holding. You finally get to relax and breathe and say, I am validated. This is everything that I have been learning about myself for years. And it's like the Goodwill Hunting part where he's like, do you like apples? I got her number, and like puts the piece of paper up. I'm like, this is my diagnosis. Ha 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 ha.
so once you got your diagnosis, so you got tested, you got diagnosed. What kind of things changed for you? Did anything change for you after that, or what was
Honestly,
different?
not a whole lot. I'm a huge proponent of those who come in and work on that, even the self-diagnosis, because going in and for adults, again, the official diagnosis, like it can help with accommodations, it can help with a lot of things if you need them for work. But with my practice, I'm able to work for myself. So I didn't need the accommodations. It was the just that validation of I'm seen, I'm heard. This is everything that I've been fighting to learn about myself. And it's kind of that imposter syndrome to say, okay, well, it's not just what other people are telling me that I'm just making it up in my head, that I'm just doing this, I'm just putting on a front. And so it gives me that voice to come in and be louder for the people who come see me and say, hey, I think this about myself. I'm like, oh, you're probably spot on.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because a lot of people will go with, this is gonna change everything. This is gonna have the biggest impact
Hmm?
to life and everything. It's like, well, if you're getting diagnosed later in life, haven't you just lived your whole life with the same thing?
You have, yeah,
Like,
there
haven't
is
you? How's that gonna change it? What does that change? Like, how does it change anything? Because, like,
the
yes, it
ADHD
may.
diagnosis changed my world because I was able to talk to my doctor to get on medication that helps my brain not feel like there's 400 sticky notes in a room and they're all interesting. I'm able to just focus on a couple tasks at once, or the task initiation or task completion I'm able to do. And so that's where I talk to my clients like, autism diagnosis, it's great, it's validating. The ADHD one will be something that you will be able to do more with because there are things that can help. Just your brain chemicals can be skewed. But also, with the diagnosis, even coming in and just, I'm going to advocate all for those who are learning about themselves and say, I think I have this, but I haven't officially been diagnosed. Like that unofficial diagnosis, that still is so incredibly powerful because you were able to rewrite the narrative from your life.
Definitely.
You are
So
not.
for you, when you got your diagnosis and those things, how did that shift your perspective on your childhood, career, and then parenting after that?
Oh, it changed everything. It changed everything. And I'd already been working on rewriting what life was growing up. It wasn't because neurodivergence, it's a dominant trait in our genetics. And so just as you said, that like parents have it, grandparents have it, like it rides that family tree train. And so it's coming in with, okay, you know what? What my parents did, there might be some neurospiciness within their actions. It wasn't how my brain saw it at the time. Let's add this different storyline to it, and it actually makes it more understandable. It makes it not more accepting, but more of the, aha, that's why, or this is why I struggled where I could do my homework, but I would never turn it in. Why would I not turn it in? Like it was done. And it helped to rewrite that I wasn't lazy. My brain was different. I was struggling.
Yeah. Did you ever go back and think, now that I know that it's genetic and it's coming from somewhere, have you been able to kind of stem back who it comes from?
You know what? It's so funny. I reached out to people on my father's side of the family. I'm like, can I interview you? Can I ask you some questions? And then people on my mom's side of the family, and I started asking everybody. And both sides of the family have the spiciness to it. And that makes it just so much better. But most of them don't have a diagnosis because they're over here just like, no, it's just, this is how I live life, or this is just my quirks. And it just, as you said, like they don't need a diagnosis to still be living life.
True. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what it was too. Like it, it's seen as quirks. That's
Mm-hmm.
what. You're just quirky in this way, or you're just, it's a very. I mean, yes, there's a lot of good things that comes with that too, right? It takes the pressure out. Oh, I'm just a little different in this way. I'm just a little quirky here, or I just really like this or that kind of thing. Like, okay, those things are fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Uh, but since you've been able to have that acknowledgement and embrace these different parts of you, specifically, like what has changed over the last, you said it was 8, 15 now, so over the last 7 years or so.
I've been able to build in accommodations with the parenting. And it's funny. I had parented him through the lens of autism before I realized that I was autistic. I like structure. I like rules. I like having things like bedtime is at this time. This is when we're going to shower. This is like having things set up, having that structure makes it easy for my brain to not get derailed. And because I was parenting through that lens, he was already understanding that structure. But then coming in with, okay, autistic brains, ADHD brains, There's something called PDA.
Pathological demand avoidant.
That's exactly, thank you. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna mess that up. And so, and it, a lot of people used to see this as defiant, ODD, opposite defiant disorder. And it's not. It's not. It's they want some ability for autonomy. And so, do you want to shower now or in 5 minutes? 5 minutes. You've picked it. Either way, you're still showering. Do you want to have broccoli or asparagus? Neither. That's not an option. Here's your two options. And I was able to learn that I needed to give fewer options and keep my face at almost a flat affect, because they see how your facial expressions are. And then they're like, oh, I've done something wrong. No, you haven't. Or, haha, I'm getting to you. I'm annoying you. Let me keep doing this. And then you're gonna just blow your lid and leave or walk off. And then, like, mama, leave me alone. And so I learned to keep my face pretty non reactive and my voice within an even tone. It's like, nope, this is what we're doing. We've learned that when he was in school, I was almost on a first name basis with every one of his teachers, because I wanted them to know from the very beginning, I'm here to support you in your classroom and your needs. When he was younger, we had two key phrases that the teachers could use, and we talked about it all the time, that's inappropriate. That's not okay. And he knew if he was loud or like facial expressions or being whatever it is, if he was reacting to something internally and the teacher said that's not appropriate, that was a key phrase that he was like, okay, I need to work on regulating. And then the teachers and I came up with ways to help. Like, if he needed to step away, he could step away and come back. And if it was like taking 5 minutes to read, if it was to put on noise canceling headphones because the kid sitting in the desk next to him is really aggressive at coloring and it sets off his central nervous system, which then leads to outbursts and behaviors. We worked on accommodations. Long story short.
Love it. I love it. And so, does your I see you're bringing your finger. So your husband, does he also have any neurospiciness, any neurodivergencies as well, or how
Oh, yeah.
has that kind of been to mix that into, I guess, not mix it into the marriage, because I mean, it was already there in the relationship and raising the kids before it was diagnosed, and it's still there after. And so, how have you guys kind of balanced that while raising the kids and structuring like the home and whatnot?
Oh, it gets even better. So he is actually my second husband. So he's their bonus dad.
Oh, okay.
He did not come into the picture until my now 15-year-old was 12, 13.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's just been a couple years. He didn't know he was neurodivergent. He was a nuclear technician on submarines for 20 years. And in that point in time, you're not allowed to be autistic. You're
Well,
not
you're
allowed
gonna
to
be
have.
neurodivergent if you're a nuclear technician on a
They're almost
submarine.
all
Like
spicy. They're almost all.
you gotta be. You gotta be.
They are, but at Navy at the time would not allow that to be a diagnosis, or you would lose your security clearance. You would
Yeah.
lose
No, that makes sense.
everything. So, they're just raw dog in life. So when he joined our life, he learned he is ADHD, he has TISM tendencies. But so he came in and saw this kid who almost seemed defiant with, well, you're questioning things, or you're doing this, or you're pushing back. He had to learn what autism looked like. He had to learn that if his face is scrunched up, he is figuring something out. He's not being angry. He's not angry at you. He is learning about the new world around him, this new routine and life that's been going on. And so we have been learning about one another for years now. And it's still like, and for all your listeners coming in as a bonus parent for kids who are neurospicy, like it's it's beautiful and horrible and wonderful and confusing. And I don't think there's any feeling that I won't tell you that you're experiencing is not valid, because like we go through a gauntlet. Like the parents coming in, they've not had the lifetime of getting used to it and learning what that looks like. And so they're just stepping into a more structured home, hypothetically, or just neurodivergence looks different and it acts different, presents different.
Definitely. So how has balancing that structure and raising the kiddos come together, essentially adding him in the last few years? What kind of things have you guys done to balance and mix everything together and blend everything and make it work?
Communication. Communicate, 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 communicate. I don't know if that is because I'm a therapist and I can say that, or I've always been one who's wanted to communicate because the autism brain's like, we want to be understood. We spent our whole life not being understood. We want to give you more information than ever needed to make sure that you're understanding what's going on. And talk all the time. He and I talk all the time and like, okay, that was this scenario. We are going into school. We know going into school functions will not only stress out my 15-year-old because it's a lot of noise and action and moving around and different things, but it stresses me out because there's that overstimulation. It's that overwhelm. And I typically like a lot of quiet. Auditory really stresses me out. And so I carry earplugs with, and he has earplugs. And it's things just to dull the sensory. And we know within the home, we have to be very communicative. We have to be like, did you shower? Very straightforward questions. Did you do this? Have you put on deodorant? Did you eat? What did you eat? Because it's how was your day? We get stuck in that, like, what I mean, fine? What does fine look like? I don't know. And since husband's brain is more of an ADHD brain and my brain steps forward with the autism, I like structure. He is chaos. And so it is learning and blending what structured chaos looks like. And then with kiddos coming in, what does that look like? What are they learning from us? How are we being able to come in and model and be these role models of what it looks like in a healthy relationship, what it looks like being autistic, what it looks like being ADHD, what it looks like coming in and being accepting of all of those, and just trying to be as inclusive a household as possible while still being able to come in and say, oh, I did not understand that. I totally missed what you were saying, and knowing that that's not a shameful thing. I'm not wrong for missing what you said. You're not wrong for missing what I said, but let me know so that way I can find a way to reframe it to where you might understand it.
Definitely. No, that's really important. Just to be able to have that communication with one another, and to be able to understand each other and come to those different understandings throughout the day and throughout life on all the different things. And to understand the other person, like going into different social situations or going different places and doing different things, is that, there may be areas to where it's fine and other areas where it's not fine, or some days it's going to be better than others, kind of thing. And so just being able to understand that for each other is really, really important there. I guess I just want to dig into a little bit more here. When you guys first got together, were there some worries on your end? Like, okay,
Absolutely.
so I guess let me ask, how long were you single for before meeting your now husband? Like, what was that kind of gap in time?
10 years.
Okay, so 10 years, boys and or two, sorry, not two boys, boy and girl. Raising the two, because you mentioned the daughter and everything. So 10 years, you meet this man. Uh, what was going through your head at first when it's like, okay, this is getting serious, there's a future here? How did you like tell him, like, hey, just so you know, I'm autistic, or how did you like bring those things up in the conversation? Because I think those things are really hard to bring up organically and
They're
talk
not
about
just
them
a
with.
happy Tuesday, I'm autistic.
Yeah, exactly.
You're so correct. I am really lucky that I have known him for over a decade. I hadn't seen him for a long, long time. And so I was single and a single mom and figuring out what life looks like, then with the spicy kids and getting into like we were a trio. That's our life. It was harder in the beginning to integrate someone else into our life because we had built this trio, like built our little family unit.
Yeah, no,
And
100%. You had your habits, your routine, things like that are well established and things like that. But I mean, I guess, how, go ahead.
yeah, when he came into our life, I made sure from the very beginning to because for me it's always kids first. It's always kids first. Like I need you to know this is my life. You can be a bonus to it, but you will not be something that supersedes this. And coming in together and like I thank goodness he from the very beginning he jumped right in and he was like let me learn about autism, let me learn about ADHD, let me learn how to be a parent like this. And while we were still in the talking phases, I was like, I'm autistic, ADHD. And it wasn't just like a hi, how are you? By the way, this is how I am. It somehow naturally came up because with me working in the world of therapy and over time, I've just naturally come into this beautiful niche of I work with adults who are finding out later on in life that they are autistic or ADHD. And so I think it was easier for me to implement that, yeah, that's how my brain is too. And just being able to put that in there so that way he knew from the beginning. And I was able, because I had learned about my brain so much, and I love talking about my brain as though it's a separate entity because sometimes it feels like it is just like right next to me, riding in the passenger seat. Sometimes it makes decisions that I don't agree with. And it's just making those decisions. And I'm like, well, my brain did this. I don't like it, but this is where we're at. And so from the very beginning, he learned because I was able to tell him I have a really hard time with eye contact. I can look at you in the eyes, but I'm going to be thinking, okay, look at him in the eyes. Have you looked in his eyes long enough? You need to look away. Is it socially appropriate? Do I need to look back? And so it's not that it physically hurts me. I'm just focused more on the social normative behaviors of, okay, we need to make eye contact. So I'm not listening to anything that he says because I'm making eye contact. And so I was able to tell him these things ahead of time. So he then learns. And it's still, even today, we have conversations where I have scripts that I use with I'm touched out. And scripts are like key phrases that he knows if I say it's not something that's going on with him, it's something that my brain is struggling with. And so, like, I'm touched out. That means physically, I am not able to receive any kind of comfort right now. You can sit next to me. I can talk with you. We can do all these wonderful things. Please don't touch me because I've hit that sensory overload. And he's able to come in on his side and say, this is where I'm at. And it's sometimes it feels like we take a very clinical approach. And that's how it is sometimes. We don't have to have emotions because I don't know if you have ever experienced this in your life, but shame is something that kicks everybody's butt.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have a partner who's like, oh, well, you don't want to touch me. It's like, what did I do wrong? It's like, no. It's not ever anything that you've done. It's my brain's working in a way that's misfiring to where this doesn't feel great.
Yeah. I don't think there's one person that hasn't had some kind of shame in some way, shape, or form. It's a very common feeling, right? Very common. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to need a break or to not, want to be touched or to be talked out or kind of thing, or just need, some time to go and do your own thing as well. I think doing your own thing is really important. I think having your own thing to do your own thing. I mean, that's why I wake up at the ass crack of dawn to record my podcast, because it's my thing, right? I live on the West Coast, the ass crack of dawn. Up over here. I mean, I legit woke up 5:40 to do this morning. That's what time I wake up, because I'm usually able to get up and get going. It's one of my, it's one of my talents. I get it from my dad. My dad's the same way, where it's like, we'll just get up, we'll go. Like, get up and go.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love brains that can just get up and go. Like brains are so interesting in learning
Yeah.
that some people mornings are not their thing, but they soar and thrive in the evenings.
They're still not my thing. Like, morning, there's no time of day that's my time of day. Uh, it's just, I can just force myself to do it. I can just
Oh,
push myself to do it, because I mean, it's just essentially how I was raised. How my dad made me do it. Like, okay, well, you gotta get up. If you got stuff to do, you got stuff to do. You get up and do it. Trust me, on days I don't have a morning recording, I'm sleeping 7:30. I have to be at work at 9. Hell, I'm waking up at 8:15, and then I'm getting up and going, kind of thing. Like just yesterday, I recorded, and I took a shower, and then I laid back down, and then my daughter comes in like 8:15. She's like, "Are we getting going soon?" She says it. She's like, "It's 8:15. Are we leaving soon?" I was like, "Oh yeah." Literally, I have my youngest daughter at preschool like 10 minutes later.
that's so impressive.
Yeah, so it's like it's just one of those powers of my neurospiciness that just comes in handy a lot. To where it's like, oh, I can tune out, then I'll tune back in. Uh, a lot during conversation. My mind will just wander off, and then I can kind of bring it back. It's like, okay, catch the last couple things someone said, uh, and respond, kind of thing. And because I'll zone out super hard. I'll get staring into my screen, and I'll get staring into the little Pooh Bear or the little Jelly Bean's eyes before me, behind me, or I'll get really into my fidget toys or something like that, and just get completely lost in the sauce. And you know, it, it's fine, because I don't think there's a lot of social norms, but I don't think, ever since COVID, we don't have a social normative society anymore. There are no social norms anymore. And I think the biggest thing that I heard recently, actually, is when talking about the impact of COVID on our kids. Who was I talking to? Oh, I was talking to a speech language pathologist. Her name is Lenora Edwards, and we were talking recently. Actually, that episode's going to air just a few weeks before this one. Thinking about it, but we talked about how during COVID that we lost a lot of our social normatives, because we're all only seeing like half of people's faces. We're only seeing each other's
Mm-hmm.
eyes. So imagine if this I only can talk with my eyes, right? I only can talk with my eyes. You're only seeing my eyes. You're only seeing them move like this. You're only seeing them move like this. Get big, get down, scowl, things like that. That's all you're seeing. You're missing the rest of my facial expression, which was probably really, really difficult for someone like yourself
Who has
that
a harder time reading facial expressions in
who
general?
relies on those facial expressions to kind of know what your next move is.
Hmm.
And then it's probably even more difficult for your kid having a underdeveloped brain, not underdeveloped in like a bad way, but like a kid brain
Yeah.
that's only, so many years old, but not having that like input to be like, what are you feeling? And now you take the mask off a few years later. It's like, okay, be social and socialize with people and interact and know what people are saying with their faces. All of our kids, I don't know how I got here, but all of our kids lost so much time of development, right? We lost so much time, and like we're only seeing it, especially I think this school year more than ever, is like because I worked in behavioral health the last 2.5, 2-ish years. I don't even know how long I've been working here, working my job, but I'm noticing it more this year than ever with these kids. Is that all these things are we're paying the bank, the collectors come calling.
Hmm.
The collector has come calling for the social things, and it's time to pay up for make some retribution for what happened. And these kids, they just don't have, they just can't do it. They don't have the social skills. They're in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and they have social skills of a 3rd grader. 3rd graders have
Honestly,
social skills of 3rd graders, right?
well, my young adults were in college who they had to finish out their school year online. They lost so many things, and now they're stepping into college and they don't necessarily know what that looks like because they
Yeah, 'cause
had
they Yeah, because
years of being on the computer.
they go from suddenly being on the college campus of other people,
Mhm.
with other adults, but their brain didn't get that. Those last couple years of that social emotional development to be able to transition because they didn't work, they didn't go to school, they didn't socialize, they socialized through a screen,
Mhm.
but now they're forced to be there. And I'm sure you've read Anxious Generation, fantastic book. I think everyone who works in mental health has read that book or is at least familiar with the concept of
Yes.
that book. Now we have this whole anxious generation
We very,
because they
very
had
much
anxious
do.
parents, because, it's STEM. I think we were really lucky that we didn't have a global pandemic growing up. As millennials, we had plenty of other shit to happen being millennials, but luckily nothing was ever shut down, and we got to still socialize and do a lot of
Mhm.
things that we just don't do anymore in society, especially since COVID. It's like kids barely go outside and touch grass. Like, they make fun of each other. It's a meme now, like, "Go touch grass,"
Oh, yeah.
kinda thing, and it's like, this is wild because it's like, what is wrong with touching grass? And there's so many things that are just wrong with just
Well, and
doing
what's
life.
oh, I'm gonna
Everything's a
jump onto
meme.
kind of what you said, and this is so incredibly interesting. So I learned that neurospicy brains, like traditional brains, develop and finish developing around 25.
Mhm.
Neurospicy brains, we add on a solid 7 to 10 years more.
Yeah,
And so the idea of losing those years, these formative years of development,
put you
and then
behind
we've
even
got
more.
another decade on top of that, and it's like, oh my gosh, the struggle. And so we're millennials that not going through a global pandemic, but we are raising humans who are going through a global pandemic. And
Yeah.
for us, like we didn't handle COVID very well. At least I didn't handle COVID as well as I would love to, and I know a
I
lot of
don't
people
think
who didn't.
I don't think our society handled
No.
it well as a period. Because I mean, I think it was overblown. We put too harsher restrictions on, and knowing now in 2025, it came from a lab, and it was a genetically modified thing, and then it was released, and all these things, like, so it really wasn't that bad because it was already a man-made thing, so it was a man-made thing, and
It just
then
shut the
there's
world down.
yeah, it's like we didn't need to do all that. We really didn't. We did way too much just for, essentially for control. The government did. They did for control. Looking back and you look at all the things, it's like, yes, they're unprecedented and all these
Mhm.
buzzwords and fear mongering at an all-time high and whatnot. People are scared. Like, people are still wearing masks. Like, that's going to protect them. Those are so you don't transmit, so you don't
Mhm.
spread something that you already have versus give it to you. Because guess what? Germs still get on that mask and you still breathe them in. And even I work in mental health and I understand this, right? And so it's just funny that people just we got stuck in so many of these things. It's like it's not a thing,
Yeah.
and the aftermath of it, like, we didn't think of that in the moment because it's like, oh, we're all worried about buying fucking toilet paper,
Oh my gosh, the
right?
great toilet paper shortage.
Great toilet paper shortage of 2020,
You know what
insane.
though? One thing I will say COVID did beautifully, and not that I want to, ever say COVID did great things, but because the world shut down, what did we do? We got online. We got on social media and we shared our stories. And
That's true.
because we shared our stories, that's where so many of my adults are coming in saying, I have these symptoms. I have these struggles. This person with ADHD, like they have all these things. They're sharing their stories that resonates with me. Let me go talk to someone about it. And so
Absolutely.
because we shared our stories in the collective human way that we've done for the entirety, I believe, of the human creation, these stories help us to connect with others.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think that was one of the only things is people connected more in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
People started speaking up more,
Mm-hmm.
which is really great because we needed that. And I think that, paid dividends into today, more or less, where people are more active in their communities, they're more active in their government, they're more active in just everything since then. Because for a multitude of reasons, too, right? either because they felt silenced and whatnot during that time, so now they're going extra hard, or they found something that, works for them so they can speak up about that.
Mm-hmm.
They essentially found their voice in some way, shape, or form, whether it was because they finally had an opportunity to do so, or they found people that resonated with them, or they were just pissed off enough. And they're like, I'm going to do something. I'm going to say something. I'm going to go and be
Yeah.
active now more than ever because I actually can see, for the first time ever, I'm not distracted with all the things and the news cycle. Because, wait,
Oh my
why
gosh.
is the news cycle always. I flip between all these channels and they all say the same thing. What is that? And then you know, you listen to a podcast, it's like, oh, that's Project Mockingbird. And then you go and research it and you're like, oh my God, that's actually a real thing. And you start to learn all these things. And it's like,
Mm.
whoa, what the heck? Like, and then I think that was the biggest backfire, I think, of COVID is that people woke up
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
and we realized, holy crap, the government overreach, the government control, all this thing like on my life and, you know, being forced to wear a mask and take a jab and all these things, like, that wasn't that wasn't right. That's not okay. Never again, kinda thing, and a lot of people realize these different things. Not everyone, some people have different opinions than I do on this, and these are, of course, my opinion. You may agree or disagree, that's completely fine. That's and the listener is totally up to you. Um, More than likely, if you're listening to my podcast, and you are in the same boat, but you just realize, like, these are everyone wakes up. I don't know how we got here, but we're here.
With honestly, with the idea of waking up, I'll take that even further. We woke up to the idea that we don't need to go into an office to be productive.
Yeah.
Remote work is still work. It's still, and there's working in behavioral health. There's some things we got to do in person.
Yeah, I personally, I would much rather work in person. Um, I think since you do more, like, counseling and those kind of
Mhm.
meetings and whatnot, yours is some of yours is probably better set in that I mean, is in an office setting, as long as you can create a therapeutic environment. That's what's most important.
It's totally for the preference of the client who comes in. Some clients prefer to come in and have that direct person to person connection. Because I work with autism, we all struggle with eye contact, so virtually is phenomenal.
Mhm.
I like virtual because people can be sitting in their car in their lunch break. They don't have to
Yeah,
drive to an office.
the
Yes,
convenience is unmatched,
it
right?
makes
Like,
it,
we're in different time zones and we can connect,
yes.
so, no, it makes it
And,
really powerful and more
with
way more
therapy, I like both. In my dream scenario, I would be in a counseling office that worked with the ASPCA, and we would just have cats that come in to get socialized. So any client who comes in can pick up a cat and just go sit with them, and then they become therapy animals later on in life. Because I think pets are incredibly healing, and I'm a
yeah.
cat human because cats are the epitome of consent.
Yeah. So,
But
I guess kinda talking about the workplace as well, what are some, like, tools, and work and whatnot that you personally swear by for managing life with ADHD, autism, that could be helpful for the average person?
knowing where your strengths are, knowing where you struggle. If your boss comes in and asks you, "Hey, can you go look at this project? Can you do this thing?" And you know that you've heard them, but as soon as they walk away, you're not going to remember what they said. Carry a pad of paper with you and write it down.
I had one of those moments yesterday at work to where it's like, "Oh, can you go help the new person with this, and this, and do this, and this, and this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then I got to go do the thing, and I'm like, "I have no clue what I'm supposed to be doing with you
Yep.
today. I know I'm
What?
supposed to meet with you right now, but I have no clue what we're supposed to be doing, so I'm just gonna wing it and pretend like I know what I'm doing."
You know what? I'll get raw dog in life. Like, we're doing it.
Yeah.
So it's, if your coworker asks you to do something, be like, can you send that to me in email? Can you message me that? Can you write it down? I'm not going to remember as soon as you leave here. And so coming in and knowing where your strengths are. If you are one who always asks questions in meetings, talk to your boss and be like, can I ask questions after this meeting is done? I don't want to hold everybody else here. Because, being in some of those meetings where it's like that one person just continues asking because they want to know and understand, but everyone else is
Yeah.
being held there and rolling their eyes
Everyone else just wants to go.
because some brains pick it up instantaneously. Some brains need to ask more questions. And so,
True.
as a manager coming in and like, okay, who are my employees? Are these ones who need more? Are these ones who just like I can give and go? Do I need to, I don't want to say micromanage, but come in with, here's your deadline, that other people don't need deadlines, but you need a deadline to get it done. Because some people need that positive stress of like, oh, here's when some things due.
Yeah, 100%. Just a couple more questions, and then we're going to jump into the dad zone here. What, in your opinion, is the biggest misconception about ADHD and autism that you wish people understood?
A few of them. One, that we aren't savants. Not every one of us is going to play piano beautifully from the start. But that's okay, because we're probably really good at other things. We just might not be phenomenally good at everything. And also that we're not something that needs to be fixed. We have value and worth just as we are. That's humans in general. Everybody has value and worth. And you don't have to fix yourself. You don't have to dim your light to make sure that others shine bright. You're allowed space to be in and be at that table with everyone else.
I love that. What is your favorite Neurospicy parenting hack?
Give two choices. Do you want to do this now or in 5 minutes? Do you want to do this? Do you want to clean your room now or in 15 minutes? Either way, and then you set an alarm because their brain says, okay. And then the other component, if I tell my kids, go clean your room, my daughter can clean her entire room and she gets it. My son's going to look at his room and say, I don't see anything wrong. With him, it's a list. I need trash picked up, bed made, look at the laundry. Where's this desk? Is it picked up? Does this look organized? He needs more of that list. And so it's coming in and understanding that parenting can look different for every kid, even for every kid in the household. Some kids do better with the structure. Some kids just pick it up and go. And neither one of them are doing wrong, and you are not doing wrong yourself if you are having to come in and reconfigure what your parenting style looks like, because that evolves almost daily, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. And then last question before we jump into the dad zone here. If you could go talk to your younger self, what would you say to her?
That everything you've experienced is valid, that the feeling lost and feeling the struggle, like, yeah, you really went through it, but you will survive. You will survive and you will come out on the other side and you are going to help change lives.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with that, is there anything else that you want to add to the conversation that we've had today that you can think of?
Just continuing to bump it out there that parents, I know parenting is hard, but you've got this. If you ever feel like you're the perfect parent, I'm going to say you're missing something. So in days when we feel like we're failing, as long as we are still trying, that's okay. It's okay because we're still trying.
Welcome to the Dad Zone. This is my favorite part of the podcast, other than the conversation. Second favorite part is to be able to kind of bring the podcast down a little bit and like wrap it up and have a little bit of fun here at the end. And so first question of the Dad Zone. Does pineapple go on pizza?
Pineapple does not go on pizza. Pineapple is delicious when it's dehydrated and tastes amazingly sweet.
That's a good point. Pineapple does taste good dehydrated. It is very good. Mangoes are also very, very delicious dehydrated. Dehydrated mangoes or dried mangoes are so good. You can get them at Costco, get a big old bag. Oh, they're so good.
So good.
Delicious. Who are 3 people, dead or alive, that you would like to invite to a one-night dinner party?
Lucille Ball, Temple Grandin, who is the pioneer of autism in my mind, and Goose.
I love it. That's going to be a fun dinner party. What is your guilty pleasure food?
I love chocolate chip cookies. I will eat them day and night.
Yes, good chocolate chip cookie. I like the ones from like Albertsons or Safeway. Those ones are just always delicious.
The ones that are a little bit chewy, a little bit underbaked.
I always look through the packs and I'm like, ooh, which one of these look a little bit underdone here, kind of thing. Which one do I want the most? Those are like $5 for all those cookies. This is terrible, but it's also.
Oh no, it's that guilty pleasure. It's that
It's
guilty component for sure, because it's like, this is so
yeah.
good.
Mine is always pickles or Uncrustables. So, but anyways, what last question here in the dad zone? What is one piece of advice that you would offer to a young parent? Let's say they're 18 to 22 years old, that's just starting out their parenting journey. And let's add a twist on this one, especially if they're neurodivergent.
You are going to feel like you're failing a lot. You are going to say, why is this kid crying? I'm overstimulated, but I don't know that I'm overstimulated. Or I'm touched out, and now we have this Velcro child who just wants to be held all the time. And I can't put them down because they're going to scream. But internally, I'm shivering inside because I'm being touched and I don't like it and I don't understand it. And it's okay to take breaks. It's okay for your kid to cry as long as they're in a safe space. Like, they've been fed, they've been changed. They might be overtired. They just want to be held. Like, okay, hold them if you can, but if you can't, put them in their crib or in a playpen or just in a spot where they're safe and you're allowed to walk away and take a break. Maybe not for hours at a time. That's probably not fantastic. But if you need that 5 minutes, that 10 minutes, if you need to go get a cup of coffee, if you need to go give yourself a snack to keep your blood sugar going, holy cow, that we don't need to be skipping meals and skipping things for ourselves, because then if we're not good for us, then we're not going to be good for them. So being sure to take care of ourselves as well.
That's so important. Well, Kristen, this has been such an insightful and just super fun conversation. I don't know how we went down the COVID rabbit hole, but like I told you at the very beginning before we started, that there's nothing off the table here, and we'll go wherever we go.
And rabbit
We
holes every time. I love it.
when you put two neurodivergent mental health providers together on a podcast, this is what you get. So, this is the exact outcome that you guys were all hoping for when you tune in. I know a lot of listeners are going to walk away feeling hopefully more seen, more empowered, and more capable. For those who want to connect with you and learn more about neurodivergence, mental health, and leadership, where can they find you?
You can find me across pretty much all social medias. If you're going to my website, it has links to all social medias where I put up videos just about daily. They're real short, just a couple minutes long, just kind of in like, let's talk about inclusivity and wonderfulness and compassion. And my website, I've had to practice this because it's long. It's www.empowermindsolutions.com.
Love it. Well, like she said, you will be tagged on all the things that come out on Instagram as well when this does air. So, of course, it'll be easy for people to connect with you there. Listeners, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with another dad who might need this encouragement today. And as always, subscribe, leave a review, and stay tuned for more great guests. Until next time, embrace the chaos, laugh through the struggles, and keep showing up for your kids.